Three. Like a long lost cousin on Christmas Eve or Thanksgiving Day, my man, Joshua Brisco in Kansas City is back. He's back, baby. Wearing the 4-5 on the Go Long podcast. Always a pleasure to talk Chiefs with recurring guest Joshua Brisco, the host of Only Weird Games on the KC Sports Network, a Chiefs contributor on the Fan 965, which is, I think that's where we first connected, talking a little Sammy Watkins in my Bleacher Report days, and etheric bodies and astral realms and
Yes.
demons hanging out with us at dinner. I will
Yes.
never forget that conversation with Sammy
Neither
till the
will
day I
I.
die. I'm still trying to get him on this podcast or a story. Anything Sammy wants to do. If he's listening, I doubt he's listening. Open invite, Sammy. But man, it is great to see you. If we need to learn more about the Kansas City Chiefs, this is the guy we go to because he does it with a combination of intelligence, insight, and humor. How are you, my friend?
I will take that series of compliments, true or untrue, however often you'll give them to me. I'm great. I am very happy to be here. That was on a different radio station. Now, I have been, Tyler,
Oh.
over these many years of this Chiefs dynasty. I have done so many things. I have had changes. I have had ups and downs. We've had all of our lives have been going on, and nothing. And I can't believe, truly, I can't believe this is true. The most stable thing you could set your watch by over this course of the last 7 or so years is that the Kansas City Chiefs will be in the AFC Championship game, and most likely they'll be in the Super Bowl. It is a really I really try to never overlook that because I am aware of how absolutely bonkers it is. And it ends with us getting to talk shortly before the big game, which is always an excellent little period to put on the end of the week.
It's so true. I'm sure we'll get into it. But, it's so similar to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, where, they go from plucky, underdog, upstart. There's a lot of interest. They upset the St. Louis Rams in the Super Bowl to they're here again and again and again. Then they disappear for a little bit. Then they're back and they're here again and again and again. And a fatigue sets in outside of the greater New England area, and people just get sick and tired. I can still remember when the Patriots beat the Chiefs, and the Chiefs were that team that everybody wanted to win. Everybody wanted to see in the Super Bowl at Arrowhead, the 2018
18, yep.
AFC Championship game, which was a bonkers game. Right? I mean, everybody talks about the breaks that go the Chiefs' way. The breaks did not go their way that night when D Ford is lined up off sides and Gronk, it goes off his hands. It's intercepted. The game should be over. Everybody in Kansas City knows how that ended. But I wrote this last week. I think that there is such a difference between like the Patriots fatigue and this current Chiefs fatigue or alleged fatigue. People who are sick of seeing this team in the Super Bowl. Like the Patriots, you can. I still don't understand. I think you appreciate greatness. You appreciate Tom Brady. He was Michael Myers. Always came back from the dead. 28-3, covering that game in Houston, the most absurd game I'll ever cover. Well, next to the 2014 NFC Championship game, that was pretty nuts too, out of Green Bay.
No kidding.
Brandon Bostic and the gang. But anyways, you could at least say, okay, people are sick of the Patriots. They hate the Patriots because Deflategate and Spygate and Belichick just is, for the lack of a better term, a prick publicly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
like he just loathes the media and just has this Darth Vader like presence, Voldemort. Like there's an evil empire element to this team. And oh my God, Tom Brady has this perfect life. He's married to a Brazilian supermodel and has all these different homes. And I, you can at least kind of like I don't understand like the Chiefs fatigue, and I don't want to talk about the refs for an hour because
God bless
I
you.
hate talking about the refs.
Yeah.
I guess that would be it if you think every call goes their way. But like, shit, man, Patrick Mahomes is unbelievable. He's fun to watch. Uh, this is a dynasty that may only just now be getting started. So, if your team's been run over by the Chiefs and your spirits have been crushed by the Chiefs, I get it. Don't get me wrong. Like that alone would send you to a pretty dark place. But if you're just an objective football consumer, you can really appreciate the greatness that is Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Chris Jones and this team that just makes the play in the moment every time. How have you kind of processed like the current dialogue around this team that your eyes are on every single day?
It's fascinating and it's exhausting in different ways. And I think you're right to like compare and contrast the Chiefs and the Patriots that way, because I think it also helps to clarify how much the line is moved, so to speak. Because there was not a more beloved head coach in the NFL, maybe literally in NFL history, than Super Bowl free Andy Reid. Andy Reid with no Super Bowl was the most beloved head coach in NFL history. Andy Reid with one Super Bowl was very beloved, and everyone was so excited that Andy Reid got one, and it makes sense. I'm sure there is an exception to this, but virtually every coaching staff in the NFL has been touched by Andy Reid in some form or another, right? You have direct assistants who spread and then rise up the ranks, or other guys who have learned and been influenced by him over the years. Andy Reid, with his little mustache up there jiggling at the press conference at podium, is now the face of villainy. That's who you're mad
I
at.
know. I get it. The Fumblerooski commercials are omnipresent, but
Yeah,
I mean,
you've seen him
he's
too much. That's
lovable.
okay. It was
Yeah.
listen. The Nuggies were funny the first time, and so he nailed his line delivery once. He nailed Fumblerooski once, and then State Farm played it too much because they have too much money. Okay, fine, like that happens. Your other villain here is Patrick Mahomes, who was a top 10 pick, a 10th pick, but was like this gunslinger out of Texas Tech that has like all of these intangibles that should make him the most beloved superstar who's doing things in incredibly fun ways. But people get mad at Patrick Mahomes in a way they don't at Josh Allen. I don't even just mean like trying to get the calls or the flops or whatever. Both of them are guilty of wanting the on the line calls that Tom Brady literally had the rules changed for, right? Like how many times it was an Aaron Rodgers clavicle, right? And then Bernard Pollard on Tom Brady's knee. Like those were the plays that changed how quarterbacks got refereed, because the NFL wants their quarterbacks to be healthy, something we all understand. Beyond that, and I think you actually nailed it by crediting something that I believe to be almost entirely dismissible. I think the ref thing has almost become this like invented boogeyman to try to create a semi intellectually honest reason to hate the Chiefs, even though I promise the receipts are here. Seth Kaiser and his Substack, The Chief in the North, he had a recent thing where he linked out to a whole bunch of sort of the counter research at this point. Josh Dubow of the AP has been doing a really good job with a lot of this. The empirical evidence has the Chiefs so far within the realm of within the margin for error that NFL referees always live in. It would not be a story in any way whatsoever if they weren't also winning Super Bowls. And that to me becomes kind of the sad thing, is that in the face, and I hope this doesn't sound lectury to anybody, least of all Bills fans, who I would give the most leash to, followed by the Ravens, followed by the Bengals, because the reason to hate a team, the reason that I, as a kid, hated Tom Brady, although I actually also, to the other conversation about appreciating greatness, I also had a Tom Brady jersey, like because he was the best and I was 12 or whatever, right? But I think that people have almost had to talk themselves into disliking this Chiefs team. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce is a better football player and podcast host than both of us. That's frustrating to me, but it shouldn't bother you, right? Like, you almost have to create the villainy storyline, give it some to the refs, and yeah, you're tired of them winning. If the Chiefs have taken Super Bowls from you, Eagles and Niners fans are also welcome into that club. Absolutely, you hate them. That's sports. We all hate the team that beats our team.
Right. Exactly. I'll concede that.
Absolutely. If you're a fan of 25 other NFL teams, I don't even care if you're rooting for the Eagles on Sunday. I'm not here to tell you you have to root for the three-peat. That's up to you. But you have to acknowledge that you are watching the process of a three-peat also in a functional NFL that has not put their thumb on any scales at any point throughout this process. Bad calls happen, and losing makes you bitter. But that should not allow anyone to lose sight of how incredible this run of Chiefs football has been.
Eloquently put.
It's
I,
a
I,
long
I
answer because I've had it. This has been inside of
get
my
it off your
soul for so
chest.
long.
Get it out. Let it out.
Oh,
Let the demons out. I agree. And this is coming from somebody who bitches about the refs quite a bit. I mean,
yeah, they
I
stink.
hate they stink. I hate these roughing the passer quote
Yes.
unquote penalties. They're terrible, but guess what? They're terrible in just about every football game you watch. And don't take it from Joshua Brisco or Tyler Dunn. Take it from Jordan Phillips. We chatted before the AFC Championship game, and it was actually kind of a leading question from myself. We're just one on one at his locker. Excuse me. And I asked him about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and calls kind of going their way off of this Houston game. Will Anderson Jr. and D'Amico Ryans were pissed off about all of that. It was a topic of conversation. Jordan Phillips brought up the point you just did. He goes, look, we've got a quarterback in Josh Allen who kind of plays off of the officials as well. He goes, that's just part of the profession. He goes, it's like LeBron James and flopping. Like, you're going to do that to get calls. And there are many clips. Hey, hand in the sky, Josh Allen, apologist to the extreme. I think that he is the MVP this year. I think they have wasted championships in the Josh Allen era. He is playing out of his mind. This franchise should orbit around Josh Allen in every conceivable way. He's incredible. He also flops. He also looks for calls more than Patrick Mahomes. And there's going to be breaks both ways in every game. And look, in the same Bills Chiefs game, the Chiefs had a turnover for the first time in 83 drives, the longest stretch in NFL history. Like the big break went Buffalo's way. And the 4th and 1, the Kincaid spot before that, it makes for lively conversation, debate. I get all that, but when the break goes your way, what do you do with it? And what did the Chiefs do with it? 5 plays right down the throat of the Buffalo Bills defense. No will, no resistance, in a huge moment out of Buffalo there. And you've got to knock the Chiefs out, man. Like you've got to put them away when you've got the opportunity and maximize every chance that you get. It's not just the Bills. They do this to every single team. To me, that's what makes this team so special. That ability to pounce like the Patriots used to, right? When D Ford is penalized, what did Tom Brady do the very next play? He goes to Rob Gronkowski down the left sideline. They get to overtime. They get the break on the coin flip. They win the game. To you, Josh, what makes this Chiefs team special? What makes maybe we all talked about Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. What element to this franchise is truly historic to you?
It's like borderline impossible to quantify like clutch because we throw that out there as kind of a catch-all intangible thing, right? And so much of this year for me had been trying to figure out what's happening in all these one possession games the Chiefs are always. They have this impeccable record in one possession games. Obviously, they had an impeccable record on the year as a whole, with that Bills regular season game being the only loss that included the Chiefs starters until week 18. The thing for me that begins to give some empirical backing behind all of this that does connect all the dots, it is directly stemming from what you just mentioned too, is how good they are on third down. Which is, well, why is that? Why is this team better on third down than anybody else? Or when the other team should also have they know this is the most high intensity game changing moment. Why are the Chiefs always better in those circumstances? And I think it comes down to the people that end up making those calls and the guys who end up executing them. I don't think that by and large, I don't think that good players become great or even great players become better in clutch moments in general. The like Patrick Mahomes heart rate thing is maybe an outlier on that, or like actually his body physically is more comfortable
Yeah,
under stress. That's unbelievable. But
it's
what
nuts.
it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. But what I think is quantifiable is that when you have the best players and the best coaches in the world, and I'm really thinking about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Chris Jones, and then Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo as the coaches outside of these guys, right? Chris Jones is an absolute maniac in third or fourth down situations as kind of the closer of the defense, right? Steve Spagnuolo is one of one. I just read a great piece about him. believe it was Go Long Substack. Um, Steve Spagnuolo is truly one of one in terms of, and this is really now just me telling people to keep reading, listening to the thing they're clearly reading and listening to already. But your Osiris Torrance quotes from the AFC Championship game, I use those for a week because it's a perfect encapsulation of here's how Spags can set you up, set you up, set you up, knock you down when it matters the most. They don't pull punches per se, but there is this like incredible domino track that feels like the Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo are setting up from the first 15 until the fourth quarter of when are we going to pull this lever and this lever because this is what we found in this week of scouting. And that has to come with players who completely understand their system on both sides of the football, and then they have to be able to execute that when it arrives. You can do any three of those four or however many things I just listed off, and it won't work. But if you have the coaches pulling the right levers in these most important moments, and you have the greatest quarterback to ever live, I believe, in progress, right? I don't need to do the whole legacy talk yet, but like when you have an absolute superhero alien who sees and can do anything on a football field, throwing the ball to perhaps the most intelligent pass catcher in football history. Again, I don't mean to overstate things just for the sake of overstating it, but I think it's true. I think it's
Yeah.
actually factual for Travis Kelce. And then Andy Reid says, "Okay, I've got these two weapons in my holster here of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. You guys just execute this thing, and we're going back to a Super Bowl. We're going to win another Super Bowl, et cetera, et cetera." So I think it's all of that coming together, which also comes with so few mistakes in those moments. To your original point at the beginning of your question 15 minutes ago before I started answering, when you know that you as a team are going to give so few second chances to your opponents, and they know that, they must capitalize on those. On the other hand, when the Chiefs get a second chance, they usually do capitalize on that. And that means your margin for error is just nothing against this team.
And when you have Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, an offense that's flawless, right? That was a 99th percentile game from Patrick Mahomes on dropback rate per Shiokbadia, the ringer. I mean, just he's so efficient. When you've got that offense and your Spags, you can play balls out.
Yes.
You can blitz and disguise and get funky, and the players love it. I mean, it's all in our story that you referenced there, but when you're a player, like you crave that. It's like you're calling the plays on Madden as a
Yes.
12-year-old. You're going bonsai blitz on 3rd and 5 and 4th, and you're doing whatever you want. I mean, Jalen Watson is a pretty soft spoken cornerback for the Chiefs, and he lit right up. He said, "Yeah, like this is what you love as a competitor. It gives you confidence. Like he's believing in you in these big moments to go for it." Drew Tranquil said he's just smiling at his teammates ahead of that 4th and 5 because they know they set the Bills up. Nick Bolton's talking to Spags. They've got the eye in the sky who watches the protection every play. It's just like,
That was
boom, let's
fascinating.
do it.
I didn't know about that guy. I don't know who that guy is. I didn't know that guy was doing that job. That was a great nugget by you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, Dave Merritt. He wouldn't tell me who that person is because he said, "quote I will be fired if I tell you." But they have they have a staffer up above who watches his only job watch the offensive line every snap, what they do in pass protection. So they knew that when they showed that look and backed off, that the Bills would slide to the left, and not slide to the right. Right? They didn't have the second part of that song,
No.
that lyric. And why would you when Chris Jones is over on that other side, right? And you've seen Chris Jones, like he did it to Deion Dawkins last year in the divisional round, just bench pressed him in, just enough on Josh. He can't find Khalil Shakir in the end zone. He did it against the Bengals on that key 3rd down with like 44 seconds left to get the ball back to Mahomes on the game-winning drive. He's one-on-one with a tackle. That's a death sentence. So, man, when you've got a flawless offense, you can just take chances on defense, and it's the perfect complement. And I don't know why look, the Sean McDermott Bills defense has been very solid in the regular season. There are other defenses that are very solid, but I don't know if you've got a star stud quarterback, and if you're going to build your team around that talent, you need a defense that's going to be aggressive and violent and take chances. Why the hell not?
And I don't know how many defenses in the NFL currently have any argument for being in a similar headspace. I think Brian Flores, in his own right, for the vibes of it all, in terms of like how aggressive you're going to be and everything. And we all spent an entire football season talking about how cool and great that defense was, rightfully so. And it feels like every year Spags has been doing it in February, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, well, no, we'll just do more kind of fittingly like Vic Fangio kind of stuff where you are going to be a little bit more patient and let the offense try to make some mistakes in front of you." I don't think it's a coincidence. Obviously, the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, and this is not me hating on Vic Fangio or whatever, but it feels like maybe you can even source this back to the Chiefs Bengals AFC Championship game where Patrick Mahomes had his only bad game of playoff football, and that still sticks out in your mind where there became so much that year about your too high shells and keeping everything in front of you and make the Chiefs play this dink and dunk football. Well, in the 2024 regular season, the Chiefs played that football voluntarily. Like they lost Rashee Rice early, they lost Hollywood Brown during the preseason, they lost Isaiah Pacheco and pulled Kareem Hunt off his couch and then said, "Here's like 21 and 25 carries or something in your first two games back." It was ludicrous. And they just played that way for most of the season, which was not as much fun as it often is. And then when the game started to matter, you get to January, they look like this version of the team again. And it's like, yeah, no, this, you can try to do the dink and dunk thing, but now the explosive plays are essentially back on the menu, it feels like, for this Chiefs team. You want to have a defense that lives explosively too, I would think. And also, this wasn't a defense that was creating turnovers early in the year, by the way, which is really what you want with your aggressive defense. Get the ball back. They weren't getting the ball back, and it was still a very, very good unit, especially until Jalen Watson got hurt. Now he's back. Oh, I lost you, Tyler. I don't have any audio from you, but maybe there's a couple of buttons to push.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
I'm holding the mic, and this plug is a little loose. It's Super Bowl week. I got to get on my A game here. Let's step it up.
The equipment starts falling apart late Thursday of Super Bowl week. I think that's about right.
Oh yeah, my computer was freezing up while I was working on my story earlier today, and all I could think about was Aleem McNeil for the Lions. He's a software savant, and we did a story on him last year. This is over a season ago, and I was telling him like, yeah, I was getting this like random screen that would pop up, and my computer's making all these weird noises. And he goes, "Tyler, you have to get a new laptop. It's time. You're going to lose everything." A year plus later, I still haven't done that. So I probably should, or at least back things up.
Yes, please, at least. You can get like a 2 terabyte hard drive now for like $90.
Yeah. I have one. I have one. It's just sitting on my desk.
If I would have known this before, I would have refused this interview request.
Okay, before I forget this point.
Interview request is very strong of me, by the way.
So, all right, the trend in the NFL, and coaches have talked about this throughout the league, is you want the offense to go 15 plays a drive. Like right. You'll give up the 6-yard gain and the 4-yard run and the 7-yard hitch. Like you'll do all of this because the thinking is over the course of those 15 plays, you're going to screw up. There'll be a holding penalty. You'll get into a not ideal down and distance. Maybe you'll turn it over. Maybe you'll get sacked. Something bad will happen that will nuke that drive. And I for a while, I could get on board with that. Okay, like that makes sense. But then I chatted with Steven Nelson for the Spags story, and he's great. Like he's just on the practice squad.
You might literally be the first guy that's spoken to Steven Nelson since he signed with the Chiefs in the media. I have not heard a peep out of him. I've been curious about him for months now.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it when I saw him there. I had no idea he was on the practice squad. But like, wait, that's Steven Nelson. I talked to him when he was with the Steelers, a few years back. I mean, he's been starting he's played 140 games for Kansas City in 2015 to 18, Pittsburgh 19 to 20, Philly in 21, the Texans 22 and 23. Now he's chilling on the practice squad. And I just love his perspective on this all. And he said, all right, this is a direct quote from Steven Nelson. There's a lot of places I've been, and it's a bend but don't break mentality. 9 times out of 10, that's not the best way to go. These offensive coordinators are too smart. These players are too good to go out there and just say, oh, we're going to go out there and play crash out football. So I think his ability, Spags, to put guys in favorable matchups and scheme up offenses make this team go. Like the quarterbacks are just too good. Like, yes, that approach of okay, we're gonna make you go 15 plays, that will work against the New York Jets and a broken down Aaron Rodgers. It will work against a rookie Drake May. It will work against the Tennessee Titans and the Las Vegas rate, whatever. Like maybe you'll even win the division, but you get into the playoffs in the land of Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. If the interest is Super Bowls, buck the trend, do something different. And Spags and the Chiefs are just different than every other team in the AFC, every other team in the league, really. I'm just shocked that more teams don't go that route. Like, take a chance. Why not?
The,
You
the
can
other
live
thing
with
that
it
just
because you got a quarterback over there that can score at will on your team.
yeah. The other thing that just dawned on me that I think gives the Chiefs more ability to do that than most teams is that the most important player on the Chiefs defense right now who wasn't here last year is Jaden Hicks. He's the third safety slash fourth safety for most of the season. He's a rookie, third round draft pick, I think. But like looking at the Chiefs' defensive lineup, the defensive line was all here last year, not just the starters, all of the backups, the first string backups. All three of the main linebackers were all here last year. All of the defensive backs, except for Jaden Hicks, that get playing time, they were all here last year. Chris Roland Wallace is the other one, undrafted free agent who got some work in the slot this year. Everybody else has been in this system for at least a year. Most of those guys I just mentioned, this is year 3 really with Spags for a ton of them. There is so much trust, and you heard this from the guys you talked to. There is so much trust and so much good communication. There is such an understanding, I believe, of not just what they need to do, but why they're doing it. Again, like your tranquil anecdote of like just trying to hide a smile on fourth down because not only it's not like wait, why are we doing this on 4th and 5 with the game on the line? It's
Yeah.
we're doing this, and we've been setting up for this the entire time. It at times Steve Spagnuolo has had moments of and even really a little bit at corner this year with Najee Johnson and Joshua Williams. There are times when it's like, Steve, can you play the clearly younger, better football player instead of Dan Sorensen as much as you're playing him? And the reason that he's not is because you need to have a master's in spagology to run this defense, and everybody who plays for this defense does.
But also, I think that 2022 is fascinating because that is the
Yes.
draft where, I mean, they completely remade the defense. Let's just go right down the list. You've got
It's a crazy list.
Trent McDuffie, 21st overall. We chatted with Greg Castillo, the area scout, who really pushed for him behind the scenes. They trade up for McDuffie, and the Bills end up with Kyrie Elam. A little difference in production level
Butterfly wings,
there. I
maybe
mean,
something crazy.
McDuffie is, I mean, he is just shot out of a cannon in this defense. George Karlaftis has really blossomed, 30th overall. You've got Byron Cook, 62nd. Leo Chanel, 103rd. And then number 243, you get a cornerback in Jalen Watson, who has really took off. But like in 2022, Spags was willing to throw young players out there. And it's like that whole San Antonio Spurs, like we'll just Golden State Warriors, the regular season, we're going to use this to figure shit out. And guys are going to learn time on task, all the cliches. And by January, they'll have that master's in spagology. Like, look at Cincinnati with Lou Anarumo. He would not play young players. He would not play rookies. And it came back to bite him. I mean, you're kind of putting average, like Sheldon Rankins at this point to replace DJ Reader in the middle of your defense, a shell of himself. And I think some of these veteran coaches, most veteran coaches who have been around forever, they go the route of Anarumo. Like they're who's a great defensive mind, right? I mean, he took it to Mahomes in the second half of an AFC Championship game not too long ago, but they're afraid to play those rookies in a complicated scheme. Spags wasn't in 2022, and they go on this like unexpected Super Bowl run. They take down what Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts. They win the Super Bowl, and then they only get better in 23. The defense carries you when the offense is trying to figure stuff out, and they're still the same level here in 2024. I don't know. I feel like there's got to be teams around the NFL that take some lessons from the Chiefs here, and it does all start with Mahomes. He allows all this to happen, so you got to find the quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but just coach fearlessly, play fearlessly, and you can live with the results, right? If you get burned on a cover zero blitz, you can live with that.
Because you're playing your game. You're going in fighting the way that you thought you were going to fight on your way out. You've reminded me of a story from I can't even remember what year it was. But it had to have been either rookie minicamp of the 2020 season with all those defensive backs. It was also Joshua Williams, Jalen, and you mentioned Jalen Watson, Najee Johnson, guys who got a ton of playing time and are still getting playing time in different roles now. It must have been that year, but it could have been the Snead year. I don't remember. COVID's probably not. But I was out there at rookie mini camps, or maybe just regular mini camps. Again, the details have gotten fuzzier over the years. The specific part I remember with absolute clarity is that during practice, like practice was happening over there, and we were talking mini camps. It's summer. We are early on late spring, and I see off to the side one of these new young Chiefs corners that have recently come onto the team. They're off on the side while practice is going on, and there's a coach off there standing across from the DB, like doing like first step of a wide receiver release or doing something with his hands. I can't really tell exactly what's going on. I'm pretty far away, and I strain and I look over there. I eventually focus in and I realize, who is that with the defensive back? Oh, that's Steve Spagnuolo. Spags is away from the rest of practice over there with probably Jalen Watson or Joshua Williams or Najee Johnson or one of those guys. Going, look, here's the thing I need you to learn today. Like here's the thing I need. If you don't get, I imagine I couldn't hear any of this. If you don't get all of this downloaded into your soul here, everything else is going to be harder. So he's taking this time when other guys are doing valuable work too to work with whoever this defense back was to try to get him up to speed and to teach him whatever the thing was, whatever the lesson was that day. And I'm glad that you mentioned that very, very young year, an incredible achievement from the coaches and the players to make that run the way they did. I think the core of what makes Spags so great is the core of what makes Andy Reid so great. There are a million things they share, but I think the number one thing is that both of those dudes, honest to goodness, love teaching. I think if Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo never found football, I think they'd be teaching a math class somewhere or an English class. Like I really think those guys aren't, not that this is like, I don't mean this as a pejorative, but those guys aren't like jocks who retired and got bored and decided, you know what, I'm going to go bash my head into a bunch of young football players and make them learn to play like I did. These are teachers. They are truly, truly teachers that also want to maximize this 5'11" generously cornerback who has become one of the best corners in football. Fourth round, out of position, L'Jarius Sneed, guy out of Louisiana Tech. How is he going to get used? Most of the league was not sure how to use L'Jarius Sneed. The Chiefs get a shot on him early day 3, and he becomes one of the best players in football during his time in Kansas City because he was used in a way that maximized what he could do, and he learned what Spags and Dave Merritt, who rules, who I hope stays in Kansas City as long as he can because he is the next
best
defensive coordinator of this team if he can be. I'm shocked that he has not gotten an offer elsewhere yet. Those guys are so good at molding these players in ways that I think reverberate so evidently throughout what is now clearly a dynasty. It's incredible.
I love how you finished that take too. That's what I wanted to bring up. I mean, the teaching element is huge with this team. They've been so fortunate that they haven't been poached. Look at the team they're playing in the Super Bowl, Philadelphia. They get to the Super Bowl, both of their coordinators get poached. There's a brain drain. The season falls apart. Nick Sirianni, his job security is unknown. I mean, I think if you were to just like place a bet after that Tampa Bay playoff loss, I think most people thought he was going to get fired, right?
It felt like it, yeah.
And they find some new coordinators, everything turns around. The continuity in Kansas City is remarkable. The fact that you've got Dave Merritt with the DBs. Let me just pull up. Joe Cullen has been there forever with Chris Jones and the defensive line. I mean, they do tweak here and there, but by and large, this staff has been in place for a while because Spags has been in place. I love what Dave Merritt said about how he teaches the corners safety stuff. He teaches the safeties
Yes.
corners stuff. He's like, we don't divide up our room. He goes, there's one daddy. I'm daddy. And he'll put you on the spot. Like he'll quiz you on the game plan. And if you get it wrong, everybody else in the room does 25 push-ups. So there's some real accountability here. I mean, they practice hard. Andy Reid, you've seen it. They
Yes.
practice hard. So that teaching element is huge here. And they in that sense, I guess I'll concede like they've been a little lucky. I'm like you. I'm shocked that a Dave Merritt hasn't been picked up. Look what he did with the Giants too. This came up in our mailbag once. There's a Giant fan who asked me like, why hasn't Dave Merritt gotten an opportunity to kind of move up the ranks? I'm like, I have no clue.
No idea.
I don't know. Sometimes assistant coaches, like really good ones, just kind of get passed over for what's next, what's younger, what's hip. And it's not fair, it's not right, but the Chiefs are reaping the rewards.
Their biggest shakeup in recent years has been Eric Bieniemy just trying to do like just needing to do something different because he kept getting passed up by being Andy Reid's offensive coordinator, something that worked out just fine for Doug Peterson and Matt Nagy to get jobs. But Bieniemy leaves after not getting that head coaching opportunity in the NFL, right? So then what do? You bring back former Chiefs offensive coordinator who now has head coaching experience, Matt Nagy. And if Matt Nagy would have gotten a head coaching job this cycle, I would have bet anything you asked for that Doug Peterson would be this team's offensive coordinator next year. And I still think he's probably going to end up in some sort of like advisory role. Like Brad Childress was in one of those roles early on when Andy got here. And then they have the guys from the inside. I think Joe Blameyer is probably pretty high on that list on the offensive side. Dave Merritt defensively, where it's like, hey guys, do you want any of these not only like offensive or defensive brains, but guys who have been in the culture. Like I think the Lions coordinators getting jobs makes all the sense in the world. You have seen what they've been able to do schematically, and you have seen how Dan Campbell has sort of, I mean, not sort of, utterly reset the culture of Detroit Lions football. But this is the one that keeps winning, like keeps getting all the way there. And yeah, it's just maybe the second Doug Peterson head coaching stint has scared some people off. Maybe Nagy scared some people off, but like he was okay in Chicago. Matt Nagy, I'll tell you this. How about this? Matt Nagy has won an NFL Coach of the Year award more recently than Andy Reid has. He
That's
People liked him there
unbelievable.
for a while. Isn't that ridiculous? I hate that stat. I hate that one so much. But like it again, the Chiefs have reaped the rewards of that. Specifically keeping Spags is just I understand why he hasn't gotten the head coaching pickup. I functionally, logically, I get it, but it is to the Chiefs' unbelievable advantage that has continued to pass him over.
But which, by the way, I guess as we record this, NFL Honors is going on. So,
I
there'll
totally
be,
forgot that was tonight.
yeah, I would rather just kind of walk into the darkest corner of New Orleans, and just see what happens than go to that red carpet event. I hate it. It's just, oh my God, this league.
It feels like
It's
it
it's so
feels so
forced.
forced.
It's
Yes, yes,
unbelievably
yes,
forced.
yes.
And
We can all see it. Like, well, Emmys, Oscars, NFL honors. No, it's not.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's Bill Belichick with his scantily clad 24-year-old girlfriend, and I might have to hit
Brittany Griner.
pause to puke
Okay.
my guts out. It's
I
I-
haven't
I'm
seen
glad we're
that
doing this
yet.
podcast right now. I
Yeah.
will. Well, if you ever see me on TikTok or if you ever see me at NFL Honors, just shoot me. It's over. You know,
It is a
it's
cry
it's
for help. Like,
it's a cry for help. It's a midlife
please.
crisis. Um, my
Yes.
brain just froze. I don't know how we went this direction, but
Well,
yeah,
I'll tell you what, Tyler. In another real feather in the cap of NFL honors, no Kansas City Chiefs will get any awards tonight unless Travis Kelsey wins Walter Payton Man of the Year. I guess I think he's the only Chief up for anything on this football team that's in its third consecutive Super Bowl. So take that for what you will.
yeah, I don't get it. I don't get, and there's just another reason why the NFL Honors event is useless and stupid, right? I mean,
All right,
the
I just
Chiefs are a dynasty, and their coach and their core. Like we're gonna look back at this, and all of these other quarterbacks that won MVPs are Karl Malone, you know, and Mahomes is Michael Jordan. And this is his league. He lords over it until further notice.
and that's going to
And
be how we tell his story. It's going to be as Michael Jordan. It's going to be, I honestly, on some level, I hope like Josh Allen gets one. I kind of, I don't, but I'm conflicted. But if it's Lamar, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, I'll tell you what, they're not all going to win one. Jalen Hurts, they're not all going to get one. You just run out of time eventually. And I think I'm not the first person to have this thought, I know, but we are going to have the easiest time telling the Kansas City Chiefs story in retrospect by going, wow, he beat an MVP in the playoffs like every year. He beat the rising darling like every year. And so I'm just picking one, but so Joe Burrow is Dan Marino now because this is what's been taken from him. It really is. As someone who has lived in either Kansas or Missouri my entire life and who grew up a Chiefs fan and watched Matt Castle through rose colored glasses, it is the most remarkable thing in the world. The Kansas City's football team, for what it's worth, at the expense of Buffalo and Cincinnati and the relatively young Baltimore Ravens, like those are the powerhouses of the NFL right now. And Kansas City's at the center of all of it. It really boggles my mind in a way that I hope I never take for granted.
And I get it. I get the Bills argument, the Bengals argument, any one of these teams that loses a one score game to the Chiefs. I get that you can look at it and say, look, if this just one play goes our way, we're having a completely different conversation on Monday. It's true. But it's also no accident the Chiefs are the team. Andy Reid is the coach. Patrick Mahomes is the quarterback that owns that play, that moment repeatedly. You know what I mean? Like it's there's a reason for it, and it's Spags, it's Reed, it's Mahomes, his ability to. I mean, he really is Tiger Woods at Augusta, and like you just know if you're above him on the leaderboard, you, you better not screw up because if you hook one shot, he's gonna smell blood. He's gonna take advantage. I mean, he has that psychological hold on the AFC and the NFL. I mean, at this point, look, if this one break doesn't go our way, he's gonna make us pay. And by all accounts, yes, he is in a loving marriage, and his wife won't be chasing after him with a golf club because of serial cheating. I mean, we could poke fun, but I think Tim Grover made this point in his book Relentless, which is amazing. Everybody should read it. Michael Jordan's old trainer. He brought it up like after that happened for Tiger Woods, it's like he kind of lost that air of invincibility, like
Yeah.
that he had, like that stranglehold that he had on all other golfers. Like all of a sudden, he wasn't bulletproof. He wasn't like this deity figure that you just knew would stick a knife in you. Like he has weaknesses and vulnerabilities, and his career just fell apart. The back injury obviously factors in as well, but like he just fell off a cliff.
It scuffs the mystique. Like it really did. It changes your word association for Tiger Woods. Like most people will still say greatest golfer ever. Lots of casual non-golf fans will go, didn't his wife be on his maybe Buick with a golf club on Thanksgiving? Like I remember like being with family as that was happening. That's gonna stick around. To the
Yeah.
point on this, like the psychological hold of it all, it goes back to the freaking whoop numbers or whatever about Patrick Mahomes' heart rate dropping in the huddle in over. It was in overtime. Was that when that was
The
pulled from? Was that
the
fourth?
the 13 seconds game, divisional round against the Bills. Yeah, Bobby Struba's trainer, like he showed, like he's got the GPS tracker on. It's unbelievable, and his heart rate it goes up, I believe, when Gabe Davis scored that touchdown. But when he goes out there for those two plays with 13 seconds left, it just drops to flow state, and he's calm and he delivers.
It
Freakish.
it is truly freakish. It is truly like the Michael Myers thing. And the Eagles are a team who have been here very, very recently with many of the same characters, plenty of changes, but many of the same characters. But I just don't have any way that I can possibly believe this going other than the Chiefs are at perhaps their most comfortable in these moments. Every other team is hearing the Jaws theme song, and the Chiefs are just hunting for lunch. They're hearing the music because it's their theme song.
Yeah.
That is an entirely different psychological place to be in. I think the Eagles have plenty of paths to winning this game. I think that there is a very, very good chance Philadelphia wins this football game. But all of the like normal ways that this could go, the Chiefs win all of them because for them this is normal. Them losing in a Super Bowl is very rare. Them not getting to the Super Bowl is shockingly rare. They're You're in the Chiefs element at this level. The Eagles are playing a road game. I know it's in New Orleans, but I think that's kind of what this feels like to
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. We had Zach Berman on from PHLY, covers the Eagles, as well as anyone. And he believes this out of the three Super Bowl teams the last 8 years, that this is the best Eagles team. And we're going through the roster, and you can't really find a weakness. I mean, maybe Jalen Hurts pushing the ball downfield, Jalen Hurts versus pressure. But like, you really take it position by position, all conventional wisdom tells you like the Eagles are the better team. But I'm retired from gambling. I'm kind of in and out in retirement quite a bit. Right now, I'm out. If I were to gamble, if I were to place a bet on this game, I'm throwing the money down on Patrick Mahomes. I won't. I will not get caught betting against this guy with a chance at a three-peat, something that he was thinking about approximately 2.9 seconds after winning his last Super Bowl. I'm guessing that's where you're at with this game
me.
too.
It is, and there are other matchups that are super individual matchups I think are fascinating. Joe Tooney and Josh Sweat, like you've got a guard with shorter arms going up against an octopus on the edge. Like that is a matchup that I think gives the Eagles. If the Eagles win that matchup, then now all of a sudden Patrick
An
Mahomes is
actual
playing.
octopus. They're gonna drop an octopus onto the
I,
field.
I can't think of anything else with incredibly long arms that way. Like, it just feels like he's all arms, and that's the reason that Joe Tooney said guard, not a tackle, right? Is that he's not quite a T Rex, but he's certainly not what Andy Reid likes in terms of a left tackle. He would prefer an octopus. Um, but you have that matchup there. Can Jalen Carter take over the game? Is he going to mostly end up on Trey Smith? So then what are you going to do with Mike Caliendo, a backup guard who's starting in the Super Bowl because the starting left guard, Joe Tooney, is playing at left tackle? The Eagles offense is filled with incredible talent. One of the best wide receiver duos in the sport, the best running back, not just in the sport right now, the best running back season we've seen in ages, like truly, truly remarkable. But not all position groups are created equal here in terms of the value that they bring. I am going to take Patrick Mahomes, and not in spite of the rest of the team, to be clear. Like, I don't think this isn't, frankly, Chiefs Bucks when it was like, yeah, Patrick Mahomes is playing behind five random fans on the offensive line, but I'm still going to pick Patrick Mahomes. Like, this is not that path. I think the Chiefs keeping Jalen Hurts uncomfortable, either a big Chris Jones game or a big game by anybody else. Charles Omenihu off the edge, if they are paying attention to Chris Jones, Charles Omenihu, in his first Super Bowl, by the way, he tore his ACL in the AFC Championship game last year. It was very emotional beating the Bills this year, knowing he's going to play in the Super Bowl this time. Charles Omenihu off the edge. George Karlaftis off the edge. Mike Dana off the edge, maybe on the interior. Kershawn Wharton on the interior. Someone has to keep Jalen Hurts uncomfortable. I think if he's uncomfortable, the Chiefs win this game. I don't want to say comfortably, but like in control, because a good game from Saquon Barkley is not enough, in my opinion. A great
Agreed.
game from Saquon Barkley could be, but a great game from Saquon is not about touchdowns or yards. For me, it's about longest runs. It is back to those explosive plays. The Chiefs have never lost a game to a running back, like they're like in a real sense, right? No one ever really does. No one ever really loses to one player. I guess Mahomes might be the counter to that. But to beat the Chiefs, even if you have a great running game, if you're the Derrick Henry Titans in the AFC Championship game many years ago, I didn't think the Titans were going to win that football game. Not because I didn't think Derrick Henry was good, but because Ryan Tannehill has to make that throw on 3rd and 7. Like that, Jalen Hurts is going to face a 3rd and 8 in the fourth quarter with the game on the line. Are you going to make that throw or not? And I like Hurts just fine. I think that, again, that offense as a whole is remarkable and fascinating, and there's so much talent there in a way that kind of reminds me of last year's Niners, with a different type of limited quarterback being the guy that's kind of captaining the whole thing. But yeah, no, unofficially and not gambling advice, I've got 30-24 Chiefs. I think the offense looks pretty good. I think the defense keeps Hurts uncomfortable, and I think the Chiefs complete the three-peat.
Fantastic insight, as always. Joshua Brisco, tell us a little bit about your show, Only Weird Games.
Only Weird Games is the pride and joy of my media life at the moment, and hopefully one of the prides and joys of KC Sports Network. It is myself, Seth Kaiser of the Chief of the North newsletter, and Nate Taylor of The Athletic. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we are live at 4:30, 45-ish Central Time over on the KCSN YouTube channel, and we'll be live on Tuesday right around that time to break down, win or lose, whatever happened in Super Bowl 59. I love that show very much. It is pretty chaotic mix of the Kansas City Chiefs, general love of football, and also three real friends who both love and can really, really bother each other in very friendly ways. So
Three
love that
great
show, love those
dudes,
guys.
really.
I appreciate that.
Not to cut you off.
I'll take it. Listen, I wasn't gonna say it. I mean, I was gonna say it's two great dudes, and then a very talented, handsome host. But yeah, if you are a Chiefs fan hearing this that has not heard Only Weird Games, I like to think that you will like it. But if you aren't a Chiefs fan, maybe you won't. I don't know. I think you will. I think you'll appreciate it. It's from a Chiefs perspective, but I think we are ball knowing, intellectually honest as a show. At least we try to be. So yeah, check out Only Weird Games, and it's also, by the way, if you go just straight to the podcast feed, it's in the KC Sports Network podcast feed, which has all of KCSN's Chiefs shows there. We show up on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Definitely make it part of your lives, everyone. Really, I mean, Seth does such a great job with his Substack. We haven't really met, but I mean, I feel like we kind of know each other just from the Substack world. And then Nate, I was just talking to Nate here in New Orleans this morning. Such a friendly guy. Does a great job at The Athletic. And we were just discussing like the ideal writing time. And it's interesting because I'm staying here at the Courtyard with Connor Orr, an old Daily Orange pal. We're gonna do a Zoom happy hour Friday night. I'll make sure I get that out for our subscribers. You can join us. But Connor's like writing time, and we both have kids. We both have two kids with a third on the way. Like his writing time is usually like night. It's midnight, 1 a.m., cranking it out. For me, I'd rather like wake up at 4 a.m. I've been setting the alarm for 4:30 a.m. this week in New Orleans, waking up, getting some writing done before availabilities. It's everybody kind of follows their own schedule. So it was a fun conversation with Nate about that.
The New Orleans Super Bowl week media schedule has been NFL media on hard mode, to my understanding, because these like 8 a.m. media availability, there's not a good time, morning, noon, or night to get those fingers to type. And we were talking about you before Weird Games today. So I was like, hey guys, I got to be done by this time. So like, I can do Tyler's show. And we were all like, people talk all the time about like, Seth, you've got like 400 kids and you're also a lawyer. How do you make all the time to do these film reviews? And we were talking about your Spags and Mahomes pieces, and then everything else you've already done this week. And we're like, what does Tyler do? how does he do these long reads on such a regular basis? It's very confusing to all of us because the quality and the content and the connections are always spectacular, and we would all appreciate it if you would just mail in a few because you're making the rest of us look bad.
Well, you are too kind, as always. But no,
I'm not
it's
too
like
kind. I'm exactly kind enough regarding your writing. I am not being too kind at all. Anything I'm withholding.
I mean, we were talking about it a little bit before we hit record. Like, it really does kind of like serve as the fuel and the motivation. It's having children to feed, and look, running a business. People like your subscription, your support directly, fuels our lives. So thank you so much. But you know what else? What it is, Josh? It's like you get an email from a reader, from a subscriber, and it's heartfelt, and it's coming from a real genuine place. I mean, that means as much as anything. And that's what, when that alarm goes off at 4 a.m. and you're tired and everything's a little fuzzy, everything's a blurry Super Bowl week, like you think of that and it's like, shit, get to work, get to writing, produce something fresh because people are reading. And look, in a society where the majority of people are just scrolling around on Instagram, pissing their lives away, and it's a different kind of brain drain, all of that. The fact that there's people out there that do want to take their brains back, that do want to learn, that want to learn about the game beyond the press conference, like we will serve those people, and the motivation is always there. So
I
yeah,
I
thank you for reading.
certainly
I appreciate your support, man. Always.
I as I have proven multiple times this week, you have now earned retweet then read privileges from me, which is not extended to everyone. But truly, like, I have been on both sides of this. I'm guessing you've probably been on both sides of this. There is an entirely different energy that goes into producing something because you have to produce something, and producing something because you know someone's excited to read it or hear it or watch it or whatever. And the latter is genuinely
Yeah.
validating and life-giving in a way that I want to always thank people for. Because yeah, sometimes you're writing at 4 a.m. or at 1 a.m. or whenever, and like 10 people are going to see this, and I don't really care about this that much. That sucks, knowing we're about to go live on this podcast, or I'm about to put down some really good work that is going to, whoever it is, however many people it is, that is going to make someone smarter about football, love football more, that is just going to enjoy the time spent hanging out with, in this case, two of us talking about a sport that we love. I value that very deeply. There are lots of non-sports podcasts that serve that purpose for me, so I think I understand how that feels, and it's an awesome thing. So I'm very very grateful to be able to do that, and specifically to do that here with you and with Go Long and with what I have to imagine is the absolute class of the ball knowing community.
They're the best, man. We've got readers all over the world. Unbelievably grateful for all of you, and extremely grateful for you, Joshua. Thanks so much for hanging out with us to talk Chiefs, Eagles, share your insights. Everybody, make sure you download his podcast, you read his stuff, you listen, all of that. And we have to do this again. Let's not wait an entire calendar year to talk Chiefs. Maybe we'll ramp up the Chiefs coverage here. It's needed for sure.
You keep my phone number where you got it. You reach out whenever. This is a pretty chill way to spend an hour. So I would happily do this to preview the run for the 4-peat. Whoops! What? Whoa! Did I say that?
Oh,
Who
hey.
said
Oh
4-peat?
boy. Easy now. All right. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you, Tyler.